If we're going to have a conversation about the mental acuity of a recent president, it does seem a little weird to be focusing exclusively on the last one and also include the one who blasted out this typically truly insane all-cap social media screed yesterday. Happy Memorial Day to all. Okay, weird way to start. Including the scum that spent the last 4 years trying to destroy our country through warped radical left minds, who allowed 21 million people to illegally enter our country, many of them being criminals and the mentally insane, through an open border policy that only an incompetent president would approve, and on and on and on, like an old man ranting at the sky. Alexi McCammond is the host of the podcast In Sync with Alexi. Faiz Shakir is the senior advisor, Senator Bernie Sanders, executive director of the progressive nonprofit news organization More Perfect Union. They both join me now. You know, one of the things, Alexi, that I think is a sort of struggle, and it is a newsroom saying that we don't cover the planes that land. That when things are normal, they're not news. When they're abnormal, they become news. And again, Trump's sort of stream of consciousness, these addresses over the weekend, which would have been like obviously massive, enormous news cycles if they had been delivered by another politician, including Joe Biden, are so absorbed and priced in now that to see what's in front of your face it is itself difficult.
Yeah, it was news when he wished Joe Biden well after he was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Right,
Everyone was like, oh, my God, this is amazing.
That's exactly right.
And to your point, it's like we're normalizing these crazy screeds, which is, of course, just lowering the bar for Republican leadership, not Democratic leadership, lowering the bar for Republican leadership for the forever future, as far as I can tell. And it's a disgrace when Democrats included say, well, we should thank President Trump for being nice and normal and choosing Biden over cancer. I mean, he's calling him scum a few days later. So it's a problem.
You know, part of it, too, has to do with this question about, one of the sort of questions in the political discourse after this book on the sort of last few years of the Biden administration, is the degree of like how on top of what was happening in his White House was Joe Biden. Which, again, I think there's some interesting questions there. But in the current world we live in, like Trump does come out every day and like ask what he's signing when they give him his executive orders. And on the single biggest piece of domestic legislation, which is this big, beautiful bill, like, he doesn't seem to be that in control of it at all. In fact, it seems like it was written by, like, the same people that have been running the party for 20 years, Faiz.
Well, mental inacuity, or whatever the word is, comes in many forms. The one that we're concerned about with Donald Trump oftentimes is that you don't know what to expect of a decision making. There's no steady hand on the wheel. It's constantly in reversal. So, you were earlier in the show talking about the EU tariffs, and the tariffs in general has been a kaleidoscope of on, then off, then on, then off. You take this weekend, there was a post on Truth Social about Putin, and he's very upset at Putin's killing civilians. It wasn't just weeks ago when he brought Zelensky in and dressed him down for saying exactly the same thing. We talk about the big, beautiful bill that you mentioned. He said, don't F with Medicaid. They cut Medicaid. He says, what about raising taxes on the rich? Then he's not for that anymore. Every single day, Doge cuts. I mean, he's moved all kinds of places on that. Every single day, you get a reversal of some kind that you're just like, you can't have any degree of confidence that there's a steady hand on the wheel.
Yeah, and that's where the sort of rubber hits the road, Faiz, on that, Alexi, on that tariff point. I mean, like, Trump, the Trump speech before West Point, which was genuinely bizarre, and I mean, you can see how quiet it was. It reminded me, remember when he went to talk to the Boy Scouts like 8 years ago, and he was talking about like how hot the women were on some boat of some friend that he knew in front of the Boy Scouts. Sort of similar vibes here, but it's like, okay, well, that's just words. It's weird, but the tariffs are this one place where the words and the deed are the same. Like, that is policy, and it's being made willy-nilly back and forth with hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars being traded on it, and business decisions inside the rattling brain of this guy.
Yeah, the consequences are huge. They're global. And yes, there are many questions being brought up about Biden. He tripped over a sandbag. what Donald Trump is doing is literally going to throw the country, the world, into a trade war, going to turn the country into a recession. I mean, to Faz's point, it's really alarming when you look at the timing of these screeds on Truth Social, as well as his major policy announcements like 50% tariffs on the EU. And then suddenly he's backtracking after a call that we're only getting his readout from, not anyone else's readout. We also don't even know if he's actually talking to these people, who he's calling, who's calling him. It is really alarming, and it's clear that he is detached from reality, and that is the bigger problem than his rhetoric.
Yeah, and this other point about the sort of lack of stability, Faz, this is a kind of boring, classic, like, I don't know, institutionalist point, but it's worth making, and I think you will appreciate this because you've worked on staff. Is that, like, process actually does matter, and some kind of process to make decisions matters, and not just having the principle, like, go off half-cocked all the time. Your point about Russia, like, what's the strategy there? What's the process? There is none. Who's in control? Who knows? It's Steve Witkoff one moment the next, and it's like, again, the stakes here are a meat grinder of a war, the worst act of aggression on the continent since World War II, and essentially just like tossing off tweets as policy.
And I'll make another simplistic, naive point alongside yours, which is, as staffers, you're often trying to figure out what the boss wants to solve for. What is the solution orientation that he is motivating whatever positions that he's moving through? Donald Trump doesn't give you solution orientation. He wakes up with a grievance. He's upset at Tim Cook because he's not going to the Middle East trip. So we're going to levy some kind of tariffs on him, apparently. But as staff, when you're often working for a principal, you're saying, where can I land this plane to do something positive? And Trump's kind of constant movements don't give you, even on Big Beautiful Bill, right, don't give you a place to say, this is where the president wants to land, what he wants to do. There's no stability in his decision making, and thus chaos abounds.
Yeah, that's well said. Alexi, McCammond, Faiz, Shakir, great to have you both. Thank you.